made it up here, and boy, was it was a trip for sure. 1,000 miles, I believe, to get here. I think, in just one way so far. And I have so much to talk about. Well, I have a decent amount to talk about, but I had one awesome, and I'd like to just kind of talk about it with you and tell you my story so far and my journey to Clericon 2024, all the way up here in Glen Williams, Ontario. So where do I start? Let's see here. Oh, he's here already. Yeah, so I got to let's just go over the big stuff first. The big stuff was I went through Detroit onto through Michigan to the border, the Canadian border, and I had the first time I went through, I got turned back and had to go back to the US and then go into customs again and then finally got into Canada. We'll talk about that more in depth in like just a little bit here. And then the next thing was the dungeon minister reached out and said, "Hey, you're in the neighborhood. Let's come on and meet each other and have ourselves a good time." So we did that. We had a lovely dinner that he graciously picked to, but he did. He's that kind of guy. And then we had a chance to go and check out the venue that the feast for the opening of Clericon will be at tomorrow, and that was super awesome. And I'll talk a bit more about that too here. Hey, what's going on? I'm excited to see you very soon, very soon. The dungeon minister had wonderful things to say about you, as always. So let's start from Chicago. So the initial first leg of the journey from Minnesota to Chicago, and that's roughly about 8 hours. I made it somewhere, I think it was around 8-9 hours was what I made it in. I stopped once for gas, and that was about it. It was wonderful to see them. I don't get to see them enough, and I was just overjoyed to have a little bit of time with them. They're really busy. They're working. My aunt does some work in the prisons as a counselor, and my uncle drives truck. So she's out the door at like 4 in the morning. He's out the door at like 5:45 basically. And so that night that I got there, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" We gave each other hugs. Always good to see family. And then I went to bed that night. I woke up at 5:15 this morning, and got out of Chicago and rolled all the way on through Detroit, which I don't know why people give Detroit a bad rap. Looked like a pretty decent place to me. There were some sketchy parts. I mean, all said, it was all right. So I'm not sure why people give Detroit a bad rap, but it was kind of cool. Got to see some sights in Detroit on my way through, and on we went to the Canadian border. Stopped once for fuel in Detroit too, and so we got so they juiced me out super early. Oh no, not at all. I just decided, I wanted to get up early and give my uncle a hug on the way out the door. If I could at least see one of them, that was a win in my book. But anyways, on to after going through Detroit. As I'm rolling through this area of Michigan, I start to smell something that's like a little off. I thought it was like the trucks on the road, but I come to look over to my right and off in the distance I see a pig farm, and it's like, oh, 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 farm. And if you've ever driven past a pig farm, you know what it smells like? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not to gross anybody out, but like, I won't go into bad detail on what the smell smelled like. It smelled really bad though, to the point where I was like gagging in the truck, and um, I was contemplating about pulling over so that I could like relieve myself and like get it out of my system. But I thought, I for just a second I thought about it, and I was like, no, if you stop, you're going to be like expelling expelling yourself, but you're also going to be breathing that in for longer. So I on the gas, and I was like, I hope there aren't any of those state police from Michigan with those kind of dorky little one red light on top. I hope there's none of them within the next like country mile. So I hit the gas, ran through it, and that part of the story. But yeah, it's really bad. It was really bad. Um, yeah, yeah, it is not fun. So we got past that part of the drive, and I'm nearing the bridge. This is the Water Bridge, I believe. And I'm getting in there. I get into the right car lane to get on the bridge. I pay the toll. It's not too bad. It's like 350 or something like that to cross the bridge. So I get there. I pay my money. I start going across the bridge into Canada. I get to Canadian customs, and the lady at the booth there, we start talking, and I hand her my paperwork. I even printed out all the supporting documents: where I'm staying, where I'm going, the address of where I'm going, um, information about the vehicle, and insurance, all that stuff. I had it all ready to go. I was like, I'm gonna be the Boy Scout of this Border Patrol thing. Like, it's gonna be so good. They're gonna let me through, no problem. No, no, no. It couldn't go that easy. She asked me one question, and I saw it coming downhill. She asked me, are you coming into Canada for business or pleasure? And I said business. Because I mean, as you know, I'm kind of working that way, and you'll hear much more about that in a special announcement come Saturday of the convention. But I've got you know Paint Minis Live, professional miniature painting and hobby supply. So I told her it was for business, and I've always been a pretty straight shooter. Tell them the truth. Like, if you're dealing with the law, and I kind of, yeah, I let that one slip. So, what are you planning on doing in Canada? How long? What are you doing with your business? And I said, oh well, it's a startup that I started a couple of months ago. I plan on selling some models at the convention. And so she was like, oh, selling models. Okay, well, how much money do you think you're going to get out of this? And I told her, a dollar amount. I wasn't really trying to make a ton of money at the convention. I thought I could sell a couple of models. I was going to sell Sparkle Slaughter from like way back. We did Sparkle Slaughter, the demonic unicorn with like bat wings. We did that one. I was gonna sell the spiders that we did, like a whole bunch of stuff from past live streams that I've just saved up. Um, I definitely should have said pleasure. Indeed, grumpy old Slan. And Americans never appreciate how much lying one needs to do when crossing the border. Yeah, indeed. So we I told her the amount of money that I was gonna try and get. It was like I had maybe 6 or 7 models that were fully complete, ready to go. You could have just grabbed them. I did up a dwarf as a player character paint up. I also did a really cool dragonborn guy with I spent like 4 or 5 hours on him, and it turned out wonderfully. But and I had a whole bunch of like minis that were primed and ready to go. It was maybe like 24. And so she's like, she gives me this yellow, and she's like, okay, I need you to go and pull over to this building over here. And you gotta, they'll tell you what to do next. Okay. All right. As I start seeing cars just going into Canada, they're just buy minivan full of children, buy suspicious looking pickup truck. No, I'm joking. It wasn't anything super suspicious there, but yeah, cars are just flowing past me. And okay, all right. So I go to the custom station. They direct me to park. I go inside and I talk to the customs agent there, getting into it, and I explain again the whole story that I told the booth agent, and she says, the guy that was there, he says, okay, well, I'm gonna have to have you take a seat for a couple of minutes. Luckily, I had timed it. Since I got up so early, I timed it where the crossing was basically midday and there was like a lot less traffic. If you're coming into Canada, I would highly suggest early in the morning or like midday, and like no later, because my drive when I started off went from like 8 hours to like 7 or 6, some 6.5, I think, just because of the crossing part of this. There was like a lot less traffic. Tangent, but we're back on story here. The guy calls me back up and he says, well, we can't let you into Canada and I'm going to deny you entry right now. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to a convention. What's going on? And he says, well, since you're technically a foreign business, you can't you can't do sales to the general Canadian public, and you're coming in here, and you don't have a economic impact statement, was I believe what it was called. And so I said, okay, what's going on, nerds nerd? Is nerds nerd in here? Yeah, nerds nerd, what's going on? And hello. But so I needed this economic impact statement form. And I guess it's something you got to file with the Canadian government, and it's something that the convention has to do. So I kind of just decided that like this was the point, fall with grace on this one and accept defeat, because the border is not a place to mess around with, like on either side. I think that would be kind of true for most border crossings. It's just not the place to make a ruckus. It's not the place to waste their time. I did ask them, can you clarify? Can you point me to where this says, I want to make sure if I ever do this again, then I have my ducks in a row. And so the guy said, okay, you know what? I'm going to print you out the law. We have these things on file. I'm going to print that out for you. So he prints it out. He says, okay, you can have time to read it. You can ask me a couple of questions, only a couple. Like we have to get people through here. So I said, okay, I read it quick. I asked him a couple of questions about it. And that's where I found out it was for, the convention had to issue these things. It essentially just meant that like, if I'm a foreign business coming in and there's anybody potentially like nearby, any Canadian that could do this work, or the same thing that I do, they want to make sure that it protects the Canadian, like the Canadians that are doing that work. And I can understand why that's important for like many other facets of their country. So yeah, and this was like rolling on that one. I was so discouraged. Like the dude saw the look of getting crushed on my face. It was tough. It was really tough to kind of swallow that pill, because I didn't know if I was going to get in at this point. Like so I asked him, hey, like what do I do going forward? And he was like, okay, well, here's the thing. You can't come back here with those models because you've said that you have an intent to sell them. And I said, okay, well, what if I just don't sell them and I use them as a display piece or whatever and just make it an exhibit? And he said, well, you've already told me there's an intent, and I can't, like, if you told me one thing and now you're telling me another after seeing this, like, I can't, I can't, I have to go off of what you originally, um, that's kind of how this is going to work. Okay. All right, man. I get it. So what can I do with them? Do you have any ideas? Like, I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with this before. And he's like, okay, well, you can store them back in Michigan. You can rent a storage locker put them in the storage locker, retrieve them when you come back. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do that headache. I'm going to have to go to a storage center, fill out a whole bunch of forms, put down my credit card information. Lord knows if I forget that, they're going to charge me storage fees. And if I'm already long gone, those models are just going to get dumped when they clean out the storage unit when I haven't paid. So yeah, that I was like, that's out the table. I'm gonna need a minute to think about this. And he's like, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. You can store them or dispose of them. And I was like, I don't, like, that would really stink. Some of these things I've spent hours of work on. And but yeah, so I go sit down, I think about it, and I'm like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to find the nearest US post office, and I'm going to have to mail these back to myself. Go to the post office. I do just that. It was like really crushing. I had a specific model in there for the dungeon minister that I was like wanting to deliver by hand because it's kind of precarious. Like it's a delicate model of Lord Cormac from his storyline, which is one of the key characters. And well, of what he's got going on right now. And I at this point I'm like, how I just kind of need to get this home on the cheap. I bought a little cardboard box there. I shoved the 24 models in there, and luckily they're packaged in individual baggies, and then the finished ones were in a little like hard container. It wasn't like a Tupperware container, but it's a hard container. But the rest of them are just in a plastic bag. So they're going to take the brunt of the shipping. I'm just hoping that model in particular survives, because that was like quite a bit of paint time. And so now I go back to the bridge. Luckily, I chose the right one. I was in my head, I was like, I wonder if I can freebie this. And like, so I went through the toll. I told the dude he immediately recognizes me at the toll booth. He's like, didn't I just see you like within the last like hour? And I was like, yeah. They turned me away at customs. And he's like, oh, what? Why? And I said, well, I guess it had something to do with business regulations. I'm not really quite doing a ton of business stuff there, but like business regulations. And so he's like, okay, you know what? Just hand me your card. I'm going to hand it back to you. I'm not going to charge you, but they need to see that I at least grabbed the card, and you can just like come on through. Okay, cool. Freebie. And so I run through there and get to the other side, and I go to the booth, and the person that was helping me the first time isn't there. Different guy, but I saw him in the building, and he was like looking, he kind of had an idea of what was going on with this. So he's like, didn't I just see you? Deja vu, friend, deja vu. And so we talk about what's going on, and he says, okay, well, what did you do with the models? And I told him I sent them back in the post office. He's like, okay, go to that building over there. Oh, really? I gotta go back to the building again. Go to the building. And so I go in there, and I talk to the agent in there again. Then they come out and search the truck, and they look all over, and they had me like show them what the package models look like that I was carrying. And like they searched the truck for models, for 24 models, and they're like, what's in here? Can you open this up for us? And they said, if we find one model in here, we're going to have to send you back across the border again, back to the US. And that was fun. They, and they were very polite about it. I think the fact that I was so crushed, but yet maintained enough composure to like just stay polite and as professional as I could be, and just nice, and followed the rules. They were tear apart the thing, and then so they finally cleared me, and it was another 2.5 hour drive off to Glen Williams. Yeah, right, Cal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal for some models, all over some models. Crazy. Um, I'm lucky. Yeah, I am definitely lucky that they didn't do like a full full body cavity search to try and. Yeah. Would that be? Would that literally be the Lord of the Rings in a nutshell? A Hobbit. This is definitely not YouTube appropriate. I'll move on. Jokes aside, jokes. Right. Yeah. I can make it across the Canadian border in 12 parts. They're Calvinoni, except for when they turn me back, then it's 24. I mean, I gotta hand it to the Canadian border guard. Like, I could really, I could be mad about them doing what they did and like having to go through this stuff, but all in all, they're doing a job. I feel like they're dealing with, let's be real, some of the crazier people on earth, Americans. They're having to deal with this day in and day out, and they're just trying to make sure that the laws of their country are. It's probably a tireless and thankless job. I did thank them, all of them, everybody I met. Thank you for helping me today, even though you're looking for models in my truck. Please leave the rice cakes alone. That's the only sustenance I brought with me. And yes, this is just tea. No bodily fluids in there. Anywho, they're just doing their job. They're doing their job, and they're trying to do it well. So, 2.5 hour drive off to Glen Williams. Somewhere along the line, my phone is like essentially the data here in Canada. I don't know what it is, but the carrier that I have, it like Google crashes out. It's like, oh, I'm doing all this from memory. You don't have any connection here. So all of the roads are blurry, and I'm trying to follow the blue line. And like, luckily, it's telling me generally the right exit and when to exit, and like kind of do that. Until one part where it just totally breaks. I don't know if it's the Canadian road system or me, but I get off. There's these three. It's like a 3-lane highway, 2 going this way, 1 going the other way. I went from the center one, I think, to the outside one. And then like the center 3 lanes to the outside 3 lanes. And then off onto an exit. And it tells me to go back and go back into the center lane to hit another exit. Later on, I'm driving. I'm all of this is in kilometers. I'm getting a little confused. So I do that, and I come double back around, and then I hit the exit, and I was like, wait, this looks really familiar. And at this point, I'm stuck in this loop. I have to do it again. And then I realized that like it's really wigged out. So I look at, a top-down view of where the hotel's at, and just kind of start meandering my way there. And eventually it kind of kicks back into, oh, I know this road, and here you go. Find my way to the hotel and bring all of the valuables inside and stuff. What's going on, Wave of Mutilation? Good to see ya. It's fine. I watch the Australian airport security shows, right? I think there is a show, CBP or something like that. I think there's a show. Um, and so uh, I get to the hotel, grab a shower, and at this point, I've been chatting back and forth with the dungeon minister. At one point, I have to call up our good friend Tunka Todd and have him relay a message because I'm only using just phone calls at this point. I'd been using Discord earlier on in the day to keep touch with Dungeon Minister because he asked me when you coming in, like let's meet up. So I get back and uh, I let him know that he's got a prior engagement going on, and so I wait a little while, and eventually um, I'm kind of hanging out on the balcony, and he shows up. And let me tell you, the dungeon minister is taller than I expected. Let me just put it that way. He's definitely taller than I am. But I see him; he is recognizable from like a country mile. Let me tell you what. Um, it was wonderful to meet him. I was so pumped for this. I was so pumped because I watch this guy quite often. I watch the Dungeon Delver quite often, and D and Disability. This kind of hobby space that I'm in. I watch these guys, and it's really kind of fun to see somebody that you've never met before. Yet you have a little outlet of their life, and I was just really pumped to meet him. I walked down, and he's barely getting out of his car, and I'm like, "Dungeon Minister, how you doing? How you doing?" Um, and yeah, so we talk a little bit. It comes up here, checks out the room because he's there's other people coming to stay and so on and so forth. We um we chat for a little bit. I gave him a t-shirt because I've been I before I left, I wanted branded t-shirts, so I went through and learned how to screen print and did up screen printing screens on my laser engraver, and then printed out just shirts. And I gave him one of them because he's cool. You should have one. I think it's fun. I In the future I'll be printing more of these too. If you want one of these bad boys in the future to show your love of PML and all things hobby. Um, So yeah, and we get to chatting a little bit, and we decide we're gonna go try something to eat. I told him I was like, I'm an exploratory eater. I'll try anything. We go to the Swiss Chalet. Never been to a Swiss Chalet before, and had a quarter chicken dinner, which I guess is kind of the Canadian thing. It's a Canadian place, and this is what Yeah, and we had like a really wonderful time. I got to know him a little bit more about his life and kind of where some of the backstory of the dungeon minister. And he got to know a little bit about me, and I told him about how I'm training for firefighting and looking forward to becoming a fireman in the future. And it was just a lot of fun to get to know somebody. It was roughly, an hour, 2 hour, maybe. Was it? Yeah, maybe about an hour 45, something like that. We got to spend together, in total. But yeah, you bought me dinner. It was super nice. Like, I mean, it's he's definitely a character, and we all know him. We all love him. And so we end up deciding that we're going to go and bounce on over to the convention site, just to kind of check things out and see the lay of the land. And so we did that. We got to explore it. Nice place. If you're thinking about coming up for Clericon in the future, it's a very solid place to come. Wait, they have chickens in Canada too. um, and so we got to tour the convention site. The church choir was there, and they were singing, and like I'm hearing this just as it's coming through like the glass windows of the church. It was like beautiful music. It was there was definitely a vibe there. And he was telling me about how all of the story is based on the little village there, the little like river creek kind of thing running in the background. Pointed out where the battle happened of the battle. Want to say Waterdeep. It's not Waterdeep. Oh boy, could you correct me? I think I'm wrong. Oh, it's my brain. My brain is burst from driving, but the one of the battles of the story took place over yonder on that hill over there, where the cemetery is. And then I also got to see on our way in the copper kettle, which is part of the storyline, and it was really cool. It was really cool. Kind of a night drive through Honeywood. Yeah, Honeywood. There you go. So the first battle of Honeywood, where that took place. And it was I had an absolutely wonderful time with him. And now we're basically here. The room here is really nice. This is a hotel really close to the convention site. And yeah, that basically sums it up. I had a crazy time at the border. Got to have an awesome dinner and meet a legend in the hobby world. Yeah. And I have to say, the atmosphere in Canada is it's pretty rural. Like driving through to get to kind of the Toronto area was like it really did kind of remind me of like Ohio or like some, definitely the outskirts, southern Minnesota kind of area. Very rural. I was telling my friend, so far Canada is basically all of it looks like Letterkenny from the show. If you know what, if you've ever watched Letterkenny, kind of looks like that. But I haven't seen too terribly much of it. I'm just kind of out in this one particular area. I'm really, after a couple of days on the road, I have to be at some place where I can freely use the bathroom. Trying to find a bathroom you don't have to pay something for in certain areas is tough. So that's a thing. But it's those small graces, right? Those small blessings that we take for granted every day. And then when you don't have them, you miss them. And yeah. Yeah. So what is everybody doing, out in hobby world? I know some of you, like I know Dungeon Ministers got life going on and the convention. I don't think I've seen, yeah, and Grumpy Old Slan. Are you doing anything for con prep? I wonder. I know Tonka Todd's going to be running a couple of games there. Well, not at the convention, but he's going to be running a couple of games on the Clericon Discord server. So be on the lookout for Clericon Online with Tonka Todd. And I believe Dungeon Minister said Yang Yan Zhao was going to do something as well. A couple of people are doing stuff over there, the Clericon Discord server. What's going on, Uncle Brett? Good to see you. Good to see you. And yeah, Friday and Sunday evenings. And trust me, Tonka Todd has a really, really cool storyline. He was kind of my riding shotgun. He was the ghosty Obi-Wan Kenobi, so to speak, in the passenger seat today. I called him a couple of times just to, keep the mind running and, just to keep him up to date. He's a good friend. So always good to talk to him and, kind of just somebody to be with for a little bit. Keeps your mind focused and on the road. And yeah, so he was kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi in the passenger seat today as I was driving through. And he was bouncing off ideas to me about some of the storylines that he was going to go and do for the Clericon digital side of this. And I'm telling you, I really don't want to spoil anything, but it's good. It's really good. It's really good. If there's still seats available, go and take it. Wildland, I got to play test Wildland like a while back when he was still kind of developing some of the mechanics in there. It's really fun, pretty easy, very easy to pick up actually. Once you run one small amount of combat, you'll run right through it. Trust me, its generation is super easy. Very much so a beer and pretzels kind of game. So, good to see you, Dungeon Minister. I hope you have a good rest of your night. Thanks again for dinner, and I'll see you again. I'll see you again tomorrow. And oh, I didn't even like show these off. Okay, last part of this story here. So after I had to ship back all of the models that I painted, when Dungeon Minister got here, because he had heard about it, I told him that I was having some trouble. He came in clutch and gave me like, I've got a box of minis here. Let me bring you on down here a little bit so we can just kind of explore the mini goodness, because I didn't have any model. I couldn't bring any of them, like literally not a one. And they searched everything that I had in there. If it had a zipper or a container, it was open. But we've got all kinds of cool, like crazy sculpts to paint tomorrow. I'm just gonna make it an exhibit. I think I'm not gonna say anything publicly further in case there's some kind of Canadian NSA watch. No, we've got like tentacle monster boy. We've got if you're hardcore D&D, I think is this a manticore? It's got like a dragon head and a lion head and a ram's head kind of on wings. It's like a cool sculpt there. We've got this this killer like cave giant kind of troll. I think it's a giant. It's definitely a giant. It's not a troll, but he's wielding like a giant rock on a stick. Like how cool is that? Cool. We've got like little guys too. We got little guys. We got like a little gargoyle, kind of old school looking gargoyle. Chimera. Thank you, Cal. Very nice, very nice. Still doing terrain. I see for you. Got it. Got it. A whole bag of goblins. I think there's like maybe a couple. They're like orcs, maybe. It's like orcs and goblins, a mix of them. But it is a hefty bag. Little wargs, little kind of wolf looking guys. That's very cool. There's a couple of, let's see here. Yeah, there's we've got a knight. Somebody's going to be playing a killer NPC tomorrow, I see. But we've got like a standard kind of human fighter looking guy. Minotaur kind of look. Anyways, a whole bunch of really cool models, and he just like strapped this together really quick for me, so that I had something to paint. Because like, what's Paint Minis Live without the painting? We love the paint here. That's what we do. And so big thank you there. Big thank you there for giving me something to do at the convention while I'm talking with folks, which I'll be streaming again tomorrow too. Well, actually not tomorrow. Tomorrow's the dinner. So I might team up, maybe a short or something, not sure. But Saturday, which is kind of the big open public day for the convention, Saturday and Sunday, I'll definitely be streaming there. And I've got a ton of gear streaming. We've got a lot of paint supplies in a big blue bin. I've got my streaming setup here. I've got not only a laptop, but the actual streaming PC I use in the creation cave. I brought that with me. I've got a whole bunch of stuff, cameras and whatnot. So my goal is to try and make you feel like you're there. So if you're wanting some more Clericon goodness, come on over to Paint Minis Live on Saturday. I'll make sure to update that as I get more information on start time and whatnot. I think there's going to be plenty of time for me to set up everything I need to. But and if you're at the convention, I'll have an extra microphone set up there too, so that you can, come on if you're comfortable. You can come on to PML and we can chat, and talk shop, or you can take a look at what I'm doing and ask any questions you might have. It's just going to be one big giant paint exhibit. This is going to be awesome. So, let's see what the chat's saying. I got to catch up. Wave says it's quite a goblin pile indeed. All right. I got in a new fantasy war game called Hobgoblin. Gotcha. That sounds like fun. I can't wait to see some pictures on the Paint Minis Live Discord server. Cal's like a very frequent poster there, and I love seeing all of his stuff. He's got some really cool sculpts. His terrain's really cool too. He's been doing a lot of that stuff as well. Hoi hoi. Yeah. And thank you guys, all of you, for coming and listening to my rant, by the way. I do appreciate it. It's very, very nice to see everybody back, and especially because I've been pretty radio silent. I've said this like probably 4 times already, but I've been working on something really big. And it's something that's going to really benefit a lot of people. And I'm doing a live press release at the convention. I have some more work to do tonight on that project. But I'm going to be doing a press release at the convention for Paint Minis Live, which will be a first for not only me, but also Clericon. So I there for that extra special piece of hobby goodness. And yeah. So make sure you turn on the notifications thing, because a lot of this stuff is a little bit fluid. And if I'm going to stream, I'm going to try and give as much time people can kind of gather up and get ready, to watch the stream. But there may not be a ton of forewarning. So you're going to want to have the notifications on for Clericon here. And so that I can see all of you, because it brings me nothing but joy. I got to admit. From what let's see. Oh, cool. Mike Hutchinson, who did Grasslands, has got that. Had done that game, huh? Hulk smashed the like button. Oh, all right. Yeah. Honestly, there is really not much else to report besides kind of what I've already gone over. If you have any questions, now would be the time. If you have any comments, I've already been doing that. But I think we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, because starting off at 5:15 in the morning has got me a little bit dragging here, and I don't think I'm too much longer for the world. But again, feel free to type any questions you got about the trip so far, or what the town is like. I guess I can try and do my best to give you kind of some visual descriptors if you need them. Although it's really great to be here, all the way up in Canada. Cal's having more chicken. Gotta love that chicken. Not gonna lie, the chicken at Swiss Chalet was pretty good. Came right off the bone. It was like it was like a whole chicken quarter, and it was in this like garlic glaze. That was pretty good. The they had this cup of stuff that was the chalet sauce, I guess. It was pretty salty. It was kind of the salty dipping sauce. Guys in there that already has salt on it. It's too much salt. But the fries were really good. Not gonna lie. Yeah, now we're kind of just getting into sleep deprived ramblings. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the stream up for now. If it's Swiss, it better be. I'm of Swiss ancestry. Very nice. We're not gonna answer. Well, I prefer the bed. I prefer the bed there, Tonka Todd. Thank you very much for bringing that up. It's a wonderful question. It's a very nice, comfy mattress they have here. It's supple and firm all at the same time. It's kind of an inside joke between me and Mr. Todd over there. I tell you what. Cup of stuff. It was a sauce. It was like a dipping sauce, kind of a cup of sauce. You got a cup of stuff right there. So yeah. Without further ado, though, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining me for my first night here in Canada. It was great to see you all. I look forward to seeing all of you again really soon for the streams. And oh, there she is. Hey, what's going on? Sarah's in the house. How you doing, love? I'm cackling, Todd. Yeah, she knows that joke too. Okay. Thank you very much for the well wishes, Mike. I appreciate it. Good to see you again, Mike. Mike Dymart. By Saturday after drinking, it could be the show. Lo and behold, what do you know? All right, that's a story for another time. For the well wishes there, or thank you for the well wishes there, Uncle Brett. Yes, okay. I'm gonna step out of the Norwegian vortex here. That's what we're known for here. You know, us Minnesotans are known for, with the Norwegian vortex, where you just get sucked in with goodbyes, and then here's the thing that happened. I'm Bill T with Paint Minis Live. Thank you again for joining me tonight, and I will see you again very soon. Be on the lookout for pictures and other updates coming out of Clericon here, Clericon2024. All right. Take care, everybody, and have a good rest of your night.